Olivia and Anna were two sisters born in Tenerife, an island belonging to Spain. Olivia was 6 years old at the time of the events, while Anna was 1 year and a few months old. On April 27, 2021, they were kidnapped by their own father, Tomas Casañas. A major search began by authorities, in what became one of the largest searches ever carried out across Spain. More than a month later, authorities discovered what had happened to the two sisters, and this discovery shocked Spain. This story begins in Tenerife, an island that belongs to the Canary Islands archipelago located in northwest Africa, and is controlled by Spain. It was in Tenerife that the couple Tomás Antonio Gimeno Casañas and Beatriz Zimmermann de Zarate met as teenagers. Both Tomás and Beatriz come from very rich families in Spain. As they belonged to Tenerife's high society, they had the same social circle and consequently mutual friends, and it was through these mutual friends that they met. Soon after meeting, the couple began a relationship that became increasingly serious over time. They started doing several things together, going to the best restaurants, playing tennis and golf, and taking countless trips, all the best that money could provide them. Later, with the intention of starting a family, the couple moved to a farm in the city of Santa Cruz de Tenerife. In 2015, they had their first daughter, whom they named Olivia. 3 years later, in 2018, they had another son who they named Tomás, but unfortunately, the boy passed away a few hours after being born. This fact left Beatriz and Tomás very shaken, and to make matters worse, the couple had been facing some problems in their relationship. This phase was very difficult for Beatriz, who in a way felt completely lost. Even though the relationship between the couple was no longer the same, and showed clear signs that sooner or later it would collapse, Tomás and Beatriz remained together. In 2019, Beatriz became pregnant again, and on February 20, 2020, she gave birth to a girl she named Anna. It is said that Olivia was very happy to have gained a little sister and quickly became attached to her. The birth of little Anna was to be marked by great happiness and more unity between the couple. However, as previously mentioned, their relationship was falling apart, and things were already unsustainable. Tomás didn't care about studying or working, as he was from a rich family. He knew that his father's business brought in a lot of money that was more than enough for him to live a luxurious life. Unlike his sisters who studied and built successful careers, Tomás just wanted to enjoy the family's money. While Beatriz took care of the girls, Tomás went on trips with friends and other women. Furthermore, he frequently went to bars and nightclubs, where he used a lot of alcohol and also drugs. Beatriz had been thinking about separating from Tomás for some time, but deep down she wanted to believe that he would change, and their relationship would be saved. But the truth was that things only got worse. According to sources, Tomás never attacked Beatriz, but after he started drinking and using drugs frequently, he began to humiliate her. He said absurd things to her, said that she was useless, that she didn't do anything right, that it would be better to be alone, and other things intended to demean her. The trigger for Beatriz was when she discovered that Tomás had been having an extramarital relationship with another woman for several years. It was as if Tomás had a wife, who in this case was Beatriz, and a girlfriend who in this case was this other woman. Beatriz was furious and decided to put an end to their relationship, which until that moment had lasted more than 15 years. So that the separation would not impact the couple's daughters so much, Beatriz thought it would be better for custody of her daughters to be shared between her and Tomás. This way, the girls would spend a balanced amount of time with their mother and father, and wouldn't miss their old family routine so much. Sometime after separating from Tomás, Beatriz began a relationship with a 60-year-old Belgian businessman named Eric Dome. Beatriz had met Eric through Tomás' family a few years ago. At the time, Eric had purchased some land from Tomás' family with the aim of starting a plantation, as he owns a company that sells exotic plants. According to sources, Beatriz's relationship with her new partner was very different from her old relationship with Tomás. Eric was more dedicated to his partner and didn't despise her like Tomás did. Furthermore, he accepted Beatrice's daughters without any problem and treated them as if they were his. Everything was going very well for Beatrice. She was happy, and after a long time she felt that her life, and that of her daughters, could be better. The couple had plans to go live in Belgium, a country where Eric was born, and had business there. However, when Tomas found out about his ex-partner's new relationship, he started doing everything he could to make her life a real hell. Tomas was furious. He told Beatrice that he wouldn't allow such a thing, and that he didn't want an old man to take care of his daughters. In the following months, even though Tomas was already in a new relationship, he did not leave Beatrice and Eric alone. On August 30th, 2020, Beatrice, Eric, and her 2 daughters went to eat at a restaurant in the city. Tomas somehow found out and decided to go to that same restaurant. He stopped in the parking lot and waited there until Beatrice and Eric left with the girls. Neither Beatrice nor Eric realized that Tomas was in the restaurant parking lot waiting for them, and when they left the establishment, they were surprised by him. With a piece of wood in hand, Tomas attacked Eric and struck the man several times. Beatrice entered the middle to try to defend her new teammate, but was hit in the head by Tomas and fell to the ground. Tomas hit Eric a few more times and then went after Beatrice and dragged her by the hair for a few meters across the parking lot. All this in front of Olivia and Anna, the former couple's 2 daughters. People who were in the restaurant and also who were passing by witnessed the entire scene, very scared. Some of them desperately called the civil guard, who arrived at the scene within minutes. However, Tomas was faster and managed to escape before the guards arrived. Authorities later went to Tomas' home and arrested him for serious assault. As there were numerous witnesses, and the victims Beatrice and Eric were also badly injured, Tomas could spend some time in prison. However, Beatrice chose not to press charges against her ex-partner, and this was necessary so that Tomas could be formally accused of the crime. According to sources, Beatrice convinced Eric, her new partner, not to press charges either, and thus Tomas was not accused and was free. Beatrice decided not to press charges, as she knew that if she went ahead with it, Tomas would be arrested. And Beatrice did not want her ex-partner to be arrested, as for her, it would harm her daughters and also Tomas' family. In December 2020, there was another incident involving Beatrice and Tomas. This time Tomas did not attack his ex-partner, but offended her in every possible way. Feeling scared and humiliated, Beatrice decided to go to the civil guard police station to file a complaint. However, upon arriving at the scene, she gave up pressing charges for the same reasons that made her give up previously. The guards, who already knew the whole story involving Beatrice and Tomas because of the first incident, were instructed by their superior to keep an eye on Tomas. From that point on, custody of Olivia and Anna, which was previously shared between the couple, became exclusively Beatrice's. This happened due to concern for the girls' safety, as in recent months Tomas had been demonstrating aggressive behavior. Therefore, if Tomas wanted to see or spend time with his daughters, he would first have to make a verbal agreement with Beatrice so that she could authorize it. At the same time, Beatrice formalized her relationship with Eric. She went to live with him in Rad Azul, a region on the coast of Tenerife, and he appointed her as a representative of one of his companies. Things between Beatrice and Tomas seemed to have calmed down. The civil guard even called her to ask if everything was okay, while the woman replied yes. As Tomas did not present new episodes of violence and was also not considered a violent man due to his history, many began to think that it was just a phase, and that he was just a jealous man who did not know how to deal with the new situation regarding his ex-partner's relationship. But the truth was that Tomas was capable of much worse things, and in recent days, he had been planning a crime that would shock Spain. On the afternoon of April 27, 2021, Tomas picked up Anna, who was with Beatrice at her house in Rad Azul, and then picked up Olivia, who was participating in a school rehearsal at the school where she studied. 5 days earlier, he had agreed with Beatrice that he would pick up the girls and take them to dinner at his parents' house in Santa Cruz de Tenerife, and then return them to Beatrice at around 9 p.m., but it was a lie. In addition to picking up his daughters, Tomas left a package with Beatrice with a note saying that she should only open it after midnight. Beatrice, without worrying, followed the instructions contained in the note, and kept the package to open it at the mentioned time. In her mind, it was just a gift from an ex-partner who was trying to get closer for the sake of his daughters. After picking up his daughters, Tomas went to his house located in Igeste de Candelaria, a city that is about 15 minutes from Santa Cruz de Tenerife. Remembering that he told Beatriz that he would go with the girls to Santa Cruz de Tenerife at his parents' house, but instead he took them to his own house in Igeste de Candelaria. At his home, Tomas sedated his 2 daughters and then placed them inside 2 suitcases, one for each. He also took other bags and placed several of his belongings, such as clothes and jewelry. Afterwards, he briefly stopped by his parents' house in Santa Cruz de Tenerife, but his parents didn't notice anything strange. Tomas had left all his suitcases, including those with his daughters inside his car where it was impossible to see them. Upon leaving his parents' house, Tomas headed to Puerto Deportivo Marina de la Cruz, where he had a boat moored. Security cameras installed in Porto recorded the moment Tomas arrived at the location, and none of the girls were seen with him. The man made 2 trips from his car to the boat to get the 6 suitcases that were with him. Authorities believe the girls were not seen with him because they were in 2 of those suitcases, as I already mentioned. In the meantime, around 9:30 at night, Beatrice went to Tomas's house since he had not taken the girls back at the agreed time, which was 9. Beatrice rang the doorbell, knocked on the gate and called for Tomas, but no one answered, because as we already know, there was no one in the house. Beatrice then called her ex-partner and asked him where he was and what time he would take the girls back. Tomas apologized and said that he and the girls were still at his parents' house in Santa Cruz de Tenerife, and that he would soon hand over the girls. Beatrice wasn't worried, she thought it was just a simple delay. She told Tomas that it was okay, and then went home. Close to midnight, after having already placed all the bags on his boat, Tomas waited for another call from Beatrice. He knew that once his ex-partner opened the package he gave her earlier that day, she would be confused and get in touch again, and that's exactly what happened. When it was midnight, Beatrice opened the package, and inside there was a wad of money with several euro notes. The exact value contained in the pack is not known. Some sources say it was around 10,000 euros, and others say it was more than 20,000. In any case, what is known is that when Beatrice opened the package, she was very confused and decided to call Tomas to ask what it meant. Tomas just replied that it was for her and that she would never see her daughters again, and neither would he. At that moment, Beatrice became desperate and quickly contacted the civil guard and explained the situation to them. However, at that moment there wasn't much the guard could do, at least that's what they told her. They said that because Tomas was the girl's father and there was no indication that he wanted to harm his daughters, they could not issue a search alert for the man. They also said that Beatrice should stay calm, as it was likely that Tomas would hide with his daughters for a few hours but then appear, and that this was just to scare her. After leaving the civil guard headquarters, Beatrice decided to call all of Tomas's family and friends that she knew. She asked them if they knew where he was, but no one knew anything. Only Tomas's parents told her that they saw him earlier, that he had stopped by their house and left his dog, asking them to take care of the animal for a while. Beatrice obviously found it all strange. She asked if Olivia and Anna were okay, but Tomas's parents said they hadn't seen the girls and that he seemed to be alone. This is because, as I already mentioned, the girls were inside 2 suitcases that were hidden inside Tomas' vehicle. Beatrice also tried to call Tomas directly, but his cell phone had been turned off. While Beatrice did what she could to try to discover the whereabouts of Tomas and her daughters, Tomas left the port with his boat. Before that, about an hour before he spoke to Beatrice and said that she would never see her daughters again, the police had approached him because he was violating the rules imposed by restrictions on the movement of people. The year was 2021, so the world was still facing the problems caused by the global health crisis. The police officers who approached Tomas gave him a warning and said that he could not be circulating in that area of the port. The police officers did not notice anything strange about Tomas and did not search his car either. Tomas told the police that he was only there in the port to put some things on his boat and that he would not leave afterwards. The police officers then left, and it was at that time that Tomas began to put his bags on his boat. According to authorities, after placing his suitcases on the boat, Tomas left the port with his boat twice. He also deactivated the vessel's GPS so that its route would not be recorded. The first time he left, he returned 2 hours later and stayed at the port with his boat waiting for his cell phone to charge. Still according to the authorities, at the time he returned to the port, Tomas was no longer with his bags. When his cell phone charged a little, he called Beatriz and talked to her for about 20 minutes. In this conversation, Tomas talked about their relationship, about his daughters, the mistakes he made, and emphasized that she would never see them again because he would leave with them far away. I didn't find information about what Beatriz said to Tomas during this conversation, but I'm sure that as a desperate mother, she must have begged him to return the girls safely. Regardless of what Beatriz said to Tomas, the fact is that he turned off his cell phone and left the port with his boat again, and this time he never returned. This was around 2 a.m. on April 28, 2021. After Tomas turned off his cell phone, Beatriz went once again to the Civil Guard headquarters and told everything about what Tomas had done. This time the guards decided to issue an alert to the man and quickly began searching for him. After collecting some information, authorities put together the theory that perhaps Tomas had gone with his daughters to South America or Africa. This theory gained traction after authorities discovered that Tomas had moved large amounts of money into his bank accounts and then withdrawn these amounts. It was also discovered that he sent messages to several people close to him saying goodbye, thanking them for everything and saying that he was leaving for a very far-away place. Furthermore, days before, he had given his motorcycle to a close friend, and to his parents he gave one of his favorite cars, an Alfa Romeo Giulia valued at more than 40,000 euros. Tomas left all signed transfer documents with his parents in case they wanted to sell the vehicle. On the morning of April 28th, authorities found Tomas's boat without an anchor, floating adrift near the port of Guimar, which is about an hour from Puerto Deportivo Marina de la Cruz, which was where Tomas had left with his boat. There was no sign of Tomas, Olivia, or Anna. The boat was empty. The only things authorities found were some children's drawings, a hair bow, and a trace of what appeared to be blood. It was later proven that it was indeed blood, and it was taken for analysis. At first, authorities believed that this blood belonged to one of the girls, but after analysis it was discovered that it actually belonged to Tomas. With the discovery of the boat and all the media coverage of the story of the rich father who kidnapped his daughters, the case quickly had repercussions throughout Spain and also in some European countries. Several media outlets began covering the case, and every step taken by the authorities was watched by millions of people. The pressure was enormous. The faces of Tomas, Olivia, and Anna were everywhere, and the search for them intensified in the following days. On April 29th, a child seat belonging to one of the girls was found floating in the sea near the place where the boat was found adrift. The Civil Guard's Special Underwater Activities Group carried out dives in that same area, and despite searching for hours, they found nothing. While the searches were carried out, family and friends of the family ran campaigns on social media asking anyone who had information about the whereabouts of Tomas and the girls to contact them or the authorities. Numerous photos of Tomas and his daughters, along with information about their weight and height, were widely circulated online in the hope that this would help with their identification if anyone saw them. Authorities also searched Tomas' home. According to them, the property was very dirty and disorganized, as if it had been abandoned for months. There were two details in the house that caught the attention of authorities. One of them was a package of large-sized bags that are generally used in gardens to transport soil and plant debris. Tomas's house had a big garden, so it wasn't supposed to be strange that he had this kind of bag. However, his garden was completely abandoned, and these bags were new. According to the authorities, he had purchased these bags for another purpose, including some bags were missing from the package. The second detail that caught the authorities' attention was found outside the property, in the backyard. The land around the house was visibly abandoned. There was a lot of weeds, the garden was destroyed, and the plants were dry. But in a specific area of the land, the earth had recently been disturbed. Authorities excavated the site, expecting the worst, but nothing was found. From what was learned, Tomas removed some soil from his yard and placed it in some bags. There were no bags of soil found on the property, so Tomas took these bags with him to use them for something. Several bottles of pills believed to be calming were also found in the house. The authorities hypothesized that it was with these pills that Tomas sedated his daughters. Due to the wide publicity of the case, as I already mentioned, hundreds of people contacted the authorities saying they had seen Tomas and the girls. Reports of sightings came from people from various parts of the world, and some even made sense. However, authorities verified all of these reports and none turned out to be true. The conclusion was that people saw someone very similar to Tomas, or were simply lying to get attention. There was even a man who tried to take advantage of the situation. This man, who was later discovered to be from Colombia, contacted authorities in Spain and said he knew where the sisters Anna and Olivia were, but that he would only tell them if they paid him 5,000 euros. The authorities soon discovered that it was an attempted coup, but I don't know if this man was located and charged with the crime. As there was a suspicion that Tomas had fled to another country with his daughters, Interpol entered the case and issued a yellow alert for Tomas and his daughters. Although the searches have intensified and the authorities are trying hard, no significant progress has been made. With that, the Central Operational Unit entered the case. The Central Operational Unit is a special team specialized in complex cases. They are a unit linked to the Spanish Civil Guard and have already helped solve several cases, the most famous being the cases of Asunta Bastera, Gabriel Cruz, and Diana Quer. I've already made a video about Diana Quer's case here on the channel. If you haven't seen it yet, I'll leave a card at the end of this video that, when clicked, will take you straight to it. In addition to the Central Operational Unit, the ship Angeles Alvarinho from the Spanish Institute of Oceanography also joined the search. In subsequent days, authorities made no progress in the case. Everyone who followed the story believed that at this point, Tomas had already settled in another country with his daughters, and each day that passed meant that it would be more difficult to find him. Only on June 8th, with the help of the ship Angeles Alvarinho, authorities found an oxygen cylinder and a duvet cover belonging to Tomas. Both items were submerged in an area in the sea far from where Tomas's boat was found. After finding these items, authorities decided to intensify searches in areas close to the sea. On June 10, 2021, authorities found 2 sports bags more than 1,000 meters deep at the bottom of the sea. Both bags were tied to an anchor, which was later proven to be the anchor of Tomas's boat. One of the bags was torn and there was nothing inside. It probably tore when it was thrown to the bottom of the sea. The other bag was closed, and when it was opened by the search team, something shocking was revealed. Inside the bag was the body of a girl who, despite not being readily identified due to her characteristics, authorities believed to be Olivia. As there were 2 bags and the other was torn, authorities theorized that the bag that tore was Anna's body, and that due to the tear and opening of the bag, the body was washed away by the sea. Later, the body found in one of the bags was taken for an autopsy, which confirmed that it was Olivia. The autopsy found that the Olivia's cause of death was suffocation. For the police, Tomas drugged his 2 daughters and then suffocated them. Then he put each one in a sports bag and then packed these bags at the anchor of his boat and threw them into the sea. One of the bags, which was where Olivia's body was, remained intact. The other, due to the pressure of the rapid descent into the sea, or because it bumped into something when it reached the bottom at a depth of more than 1,000 meters, tore and its contents were carried away by the sea, contents that the police believed to be of Anna's body. The police believe that Tomas tried to use the bags of earth he took from his house to sink the sports bags his daughters were in, but something must have gone wrong and he preferred to use his own boat's anchor. The discovery of Olivia's body quickly spread throughout Spain. Several media outlets that were already following the case reported the sad news about the find. Many people were devastated by the discovery. Most believed that the 2 sisters were alive and well, along with their father in some other country. Beatrice Zimmerman, the girl's mother, was devastated. In a statement, Beatrice said that she intended to remove her paternal surname from her daughters' names, thus erasing any link that could refer to Tomas. She also published a letter in which she thanked all the support received from the authorities and the population. A few days later, when authorities said they had already searched a huge area at sea and that it would be almost impossible to locate Anna's body, Beatrice pleaded for the search to continue. She said she wouldn't be at peace if she couldn't bury her little girl. The authorities responded to Beatrice's pleas and continued with the searches. At this point, there were two theories of what could have happened to Tomas. The first was that he had taken his own life by throwing himself into the sea with weights tied to his body, and the second was that he had fled to another country, being rescued from his own boat that was adrift by another boat driven by an accomplice. The following days were marked by intense searches at sea and much distress, but despite all the efforts and commitment of the authorities, no trace of Tomas or little Anna were found at sea. Land searches were also carried out across the island of Tenerife, but like sea searches, these searches came up empty. As a result, the searches had to be ended. Do you remember the civil guards that Beatrice first spoke to when she went to the guard headquarters to make a complaint about Tomas? And they told her that she shouldn't worry because Tomas was just trying to scare her, and that he would soon return her daughters safely. Well, the Spanish Civil Guard Command opened an internal investigation to investigate the conduct of these guards, who, according to the law, were negligent. Subsequently, the internal investigation concluded that the guards were omitted, and they were administratively punished. The case raised a huge debate about vicarious violence, which is when an ex-partner commits violence against their own children to harm their mother, which is what happened in this case involving Tomas and Beatrice. Numerous protests were held in Spain in which people called for justice. With the search over, there wasn't much that Beatrice and her family could do to recover Anna's body. Little Olivia's funeral was public. This decision came from the girl's mother, who said that this was a way of showing her gratitude for all the support and solidarity she received from society. Later, a funeral for little Anna was also held. On October 18, 2022, a bronze statue in honor of Anna and Olivia was unveiled in a children's park in the city of Santa Cruz de Tenerife. The statue is the work of Basque sculptor Julio Nieto, who has lived in Tenerife for many years. The statue was donated by the Diario de Avisos Foundation to the girl's mother, Beatriz Zimmerman, and several political authorities were present at the inauguration. To this day, both Anna and Tomas are missing. According to authorities, the two are no longer alive and their bodies disappeared in the vast sea that surrounds the island of Tenerife. For some people who followed the whole case, Tomas is alive and hiding in some country in South America. But what about you? What did you think of this case? Do you believe that Tomas could really be alive and hiding in another country?